I'm Carl Richell. I'm the founder and CEO of System 76. If you don't know about System 76, we're a 20-year-old Linux hardware manufacturer, which is kind of shocking to even say. 20 years in is pretty amazing. Yeah. Well, thank you very much. We couldn't be here for 20 years if it wasn't for the open source community and all of your support. So thank you for that. And all that support and also enables us to do some really incredible things in open source, like build a desktop environment from scratch. Incredible, maybe crazy at the same time. So I'll tell a bit of a story about deciding to make Cosmic DE or to make it a desktop environment. It goes back to, I think, 2000, let's see, 11, 10. So it goes back to about 2020. Just before that, I think it was, gosh, I'm trying to remember the release, but essentially what was happening is our support team was getting all these calls from customers saying, I'm using Pop! OS, how do I install i3? I'm using Pop! OS, how do I install Sway? All of our developers, every one of our developers was using i3. They weren't using GNOME on Pop! OS. Then I fly out to Mountain View, California, and at the Google campus, and we go to the Open Firmware Summit, and half of the users there, or half of the customers or attendees, were all using i3. And we realized, okay, this is enough evidence. We're not delivering what our customers want out of the box in Pop! OS. So that's when we decided we were going to make a dynamic tiler, or auto tiling as we called it in Pop! OS. We built a GNOME shell extension called Pop Shell. And our engineers couldn't stand JavaScript, so they wrote it in TypeScript, and we built an automatic auto tiling UX into the GNOME shell. That's when Pop! OS, and that first release is when Pop! OS started becoming much more popular. So there was a response from users by listening to them and delivering the things that they wanted. It's the calls to our tech support saying, how do we install this thing or do this other thing? Because when you shipped me my computer, it didn't have what I wanted and didn't do what it needed. But now you're doing the thing that we were asking for. And so those calls declined, and the use of Pop! OS, not just from our customers, but from just the general public, increased considerably. It was something like 4 times when we released Pop! Shell. Then we went through a number of releases for a couple of years, where every 6 months we were updating Pop! Shell for the new GNOME release. Essentially, we weren't spending all those engineering cycles and all of that time adding a lot of value. We were adding features incrementally, but a lot of the work was just continuing to make Pop! Shell and tiling work on top of GNOME. That's not the most satisfying use of your time, or and like I said, we're just keeping up every 6 months instead of adding new things all the time. And there's just the clashes that when you're trying to do something different that upstream doesn't necessarily think is right for their users, you'll end up creating. This wasn't a type of UX that GNOME was very interested in delivering in the way that we wanted to deliver to our users, and that's okay. That's every project has their prerogative, and so we weren't. So it wasn't like we were ever going to get it upstreamed. It just wasn't going. That wasn't going to happen. And then GNOME also wanted to remove some theming functionality that we thought was really important for Pop! OS. And as these things came together, we realized, well, we probably should figure out a better way to deliver our Linux operating system to users. So our initial discussion started in August of 2021. We put together this pros and cons list, and I think there were 4 things. It was like continue doing our GNOME shell extension. There was write a Mutter plugin, and we wrote a small plugin and started working with that, but it kind of had, it would be difficult to maintain. We wouldn't have full control over the experience with the user, and we might have the same kind of thing, issues trying to collaborate with upstream when you have different vision. We were going to we could have forked GNOME Shell. That was another one of the options. But if you fork GNOME Shell, then you've got users that are coming. It still feels like it's GNOME, and then the extensions don't work the same, and so that's not a great experience for users either. And then there's this final option. How about we just write the whole thing from scratch? Well, that's what we decided to do. We took the hardest and the most expensive approach. We said, well, that's probably the right one. So we had a team summit in May of 2022. That's where we all got together, all the engineers, designers, tech support, technical writers, the whole team got together and we discussed our vision for the desktop, which is what we'll get into. That's where it started. And we also realized at that point, well, we're going to have to choose a toolkit to build all of this in. So we built panels with GTK, and we had a lot of experience with GTK. We're used to it. We're used to the Rust bindings. We knew we were going to write our desktop in Rust. As a company, we adopted Rust, I think, 2017. And from that point forward, everything we wrote was in Rust, everything new. So we tried GTK. Then we really like Slint. Slint is also a great toolkit for writing Rust. We also took a look at Flutter briefly and considered that. In the end, we went with Iced because we wanted a pure Rust stack from the bottom all the way up, and we liked Iced licensing in that I believe it's MIT license. Slint kind of has a dual license for commercial and open source, and we didn't want any of our users or people developing applications to have to make a distinction between those two. We wanted it to be just a very liberal license, which is why we chose Iced. We build libcosmic on top of Iced. You can think of libcosmic as like libadwaita. It's the library you use to build applications for Cosmic. It has and choosing to do this, it means we had to write all of the widgets. There were 0 widgets for Cosmic. We had to write all the widgets. And Rust at that time, of Rust windowing, didn't even have text rendering. So we had to write text rendering and all the implications with that, with right-to-left languages and all the stuff that people far more in-depth than me realize how complicated it really is writing text rendering. But the cool thing about that, and the cool thing about taking this approach, is that for the last 3 years, we've been a central part of building up the Rust's windowing ecosystem. So today, whereas you couldn't 3 years ago, today you can write full and complete apps in Rust, and that's thanks to a lot of the work that we've done along with the community. The Cosmic Text is basically the standard text rendering library for Rust. So we started out with design experiments. These were just mock-ups that we did in Figma. And one of the cool things about starting from scratch is that, and being around for a while, is that we were around since 2005. So we saw the invention of the iPhone and iOS. We saw Android. We saw Chrome OS. And we've also seen how they adapted over time. But a lot of desktops were started before all of these devices had different screen sizes and all these super high DPI displays, and responsive design wasn't important. Now it's extremely important. So we could start from scratch with these ideas in mind. We wanted applications that were responsive but felt natural to use. And we had some ideas about how to do that. We mocked them up in design experiments. You can see here on the left, we call that the nav bar. And at the top, there's a big button that says favorites. This is very early stuff, but it gets prettier. So the idea is that you can expand and contract the nav bar, but if you move the window in and out, it'll do so automatically down to a single column. And then you have your normal content window and the preview window. And we haven't written a PDF reader, but we mocked one up. We also mocked up like a media player, a Spotify-style player, because we wanted to make sure that the UX that we were developing could be used across a number of different types of applications. Cosmic is a professionally designed platform. It has a design system that describes how button layouts work, how text inputs work. There's a lot of color theory applied to the theming system. We do a lot of calculations to ensure that there's always contrast, regardless of what colors you're choosing to set your background colors and other things too. So we'll automatically adjust text to to reach AA contrast at least. And now these are the real apps. You can see it's actually pretty close to what we envisioned a few years ago. We have the navigation bar on the left, the main content, and then preview. I'll show you some cool features in Cosmic Files because we have also a gallery mode that's really awesome where you can go through all of your pictures in a nice, pretty gallery. But then you can see it collapsed there as well, where in a single column you can open the navigation bar or open settings or preview windows all from a single column all the way up to full size. So engineering Cosmic. So our goals in engineering Cosmic was that it's modular, compatible, and composable. Modularity means that the individual components that we use to create Cosmic don't have to be there to use them. In other words, Cosmic has a panel and a dock and applications in a compositor, but each one of those are their own application. It's not one big application running the entire desktop. Everything is its own process. And there's very light or no dependency between one process and another one. So you can have an applet in the panel that's maybe is for monitoring CPU usage. But it has no dependency on any other application in the panel. Compatible in that we work very hard to work with upstream and on Wayland protocols and XDG and free desktop to ensure that the things that we're doing are compatible across Linux desktops. And composable in that you can put each one of these pieces together, and our settings system is in a nice tiered text files format that's very easy to use and very easy to develop, and you can compose a desktop from all of these pieces to make all the way up to a full desktop environment like normal KDE. Cosmic Panel. So Cosmic Panel is the application that runs the panel at the top of your screen or a dock at the bottom, or you can rearrange them in any way that you like. In our settings, we have a panel and a dock, but those names are actually arbitrary. You can have, and we only have 2, you could have 16 panels if you want. You can configure it in any way because who knows what you might want to put together. The panel is a nested Wayland compositor, and applets are just standard XDG shell clients. The XDG pop-ups are forwarded to the host compositor, and writing new ones can be done in any Wayland native toolkit. So each button that you see at the top there is an independent application running on its own, and it can be removed and added to the panel. They can also be sandboxed, and if one crashes, it can't affect any of the others. You can run system monitors. People are making applets already, and for community contributors are things like weather and networking. Cosmic Panel is so powerful you can run Celeste inside of it. You can run Doom in Cosmic Panel. Okay? Now, it might sound crazy, but when you think about the kind of things you can do by applying panels that you can lay out anywhere on your screen, in any orientation, at any width, maybe somebody wants to create something with a wide panel that has videos that will play in the side. And there's no reason not to. It can float away from the side. You could have graphs running inside of the panel. It's essentially limitless what you can do in the way that you can lay things out and build things with the Cosmic components. And that's kind of the point. Yeah, it's a desktop environment, but it can be any other type of device that you can think of. Cosmic Comp, so we wrote a compositor for Cosmic as well. As I said, it supports various protocols like WL namespace, and we work a lot upstream to ensure that what we're doing is Wayland compliant or compatible. There are Cosmic protocols. These are custom protocols, but there's a constant effort to upstream any protocols that we're working on. And most of them are based on existing protocols or extending them so that as those become mature and are adopted, it eases the transition. And the goal is to make all these optional and no other private APIs. Cosmic config, as you can see here at the bottom, these are the configuration files for the panel. And at the top here, this is the configuration file for the applets that are applied to the panel. And it's as simple as, like you see there, I guess I can look here. The Workspaces button is on the top and the left. The app button is on the top and right. And on the right, there's the power button, time, Bluetooth. Each one of those is a separate application, a separate applet. And just by listing them by their name, they'll appear in the panel. It's a library and optional daemon. There are atomic operations. It's file-based. It's tiered and versioned. We're currently on version 1, and throughout all of our development, we haven't needed to do anything that wasn't backwards compatible. So there isn't a version 2 yet, but it's version just in case that kind of thing happens. This is part of composability. It's very simple to lay out what Cosmic will look like inside the configuration files beyond what you can get in the settings. And one of the ideas here, we're going to get into, is as perhaps a distribution. Maybe the applets you want for your distribution should be laid out in a different way than Papa West thinks they should be laid out, or the panel should look different or be in a different orientation. It's very, very easy to set up, package, and ship to your users. Cosmic is a platform for developers. Use what fits your needs. Develop new applets or shell components for what's missing or different ideas that you have that you want to explore with your users. For distros, you can adopt different configurations, ship different applets or components, and you can brand Cosmic so that when you're running OpenSUSE or Fedora or NixOS and your users download your operating system and install it on their hardware, it looks like your operating system and your brand. And for end users, we all get to lay things out and make the experience what's best for our workflow, the way workflow and the aesthetic that we prefer. Do you guys remember this?
So we can just daisy chain up to 127 USB devices here. That's an everyday task. Let's plug it in. It's going to say, hey, I see you've plugged in a new device. And it's going to load in the appropriate drivers. You'll notice that this scanner build, whoa.
We'll leave that pause here. Okay. So yeah, let's do a live demo, right? All right. Okay, so this is the Cosmic desktop. And the first thing I'm going to do is rebrand this desktop for OpenSUSE. So let's let's give it a go here. After we do that, we're going to go through some features as well, some of the unique things about Cosmic. But I think this will be fun. So we're going to go into Appearance. I'm going to import a theme. That looks pretty nice. SUSE, did you guys know that August of last year they released their own font named SUSE? So we can adjust the font. This wallpaper doesn't look right, so let's try a new wallpaper. Now we're starting to look a little bit more. Let's see, let's do a light mode too. Import. There we go. And now we can, let's start up some applications. There's Cosmic Files, the Cosmic Store. Might as well do a text file. So you can see, you can adapt the appearance to feel like it fits with the brand that you've made. Now, that's one thing, and it goes a long way to giving your users a cohesive experience, because they're not going to your websites and you have these wonderful SUSE brand colors with these nice dark blues and greens and then you download Tumbleweed, and you install it, and it's blue. And it's light blue. And it doesn't feel like the place where I just downloaded from. That's not, it's not a great user experience, I don't think. I think that consistency really matters in being able to deliver a consistent experience. The other thing about distributions is you are the closest people to your users. You are the ones listening to the feedback from your users and understand the things that they use their computers for, what matters to them, what pain points they have. Not all users are the same, and not all distributions need to be the same either. We can have unique experiences, we can build unique experiences. So let's say, for instance, like here I have it set up with, we've got a top panel with our workspaces. We've got our application library here, and I've got these. Again, each one of these is a separate application running inside of the panel. We have our different applets there. We have an app tray here. We have a minimize feature down here embedded here too. Let's just say that through user testing or experience with users, OpenSUSE thinks that this top panel, this bottom panel, it's probably not the right layout for our users. Let's try to deliver something different. So we can we'll go to the dock. We're just going to turn the dock off. We're going to go to the panel. We're going to move it to the bottom. Okay, it's different. It's not great, but it's different, right? Well, let's make it a little bigger. Okay, we're getting somewhere. Let's tell you what, let's move the time to the left. Let's put this app library and workspace button over here. Let's see. I don't have a way to launch applications, right? But if I add an applet, okay, I'll add the app tray and minimize windows. That's not in the right place. Let's move the app tray over here and minimize windows. And now I have a brand new OpenSUSE layout with the bottom panel. It has all the same functionalities, that I had with two panels. And maybe that's a better experience for their users. But or for you, if you want to change it to what you'd prefer. I became a bottom panel guy all of a sudden. I used to have the top panel in the dock, and now this is how I run my computer, and I don't use as many applets. Like I don't use input sources. So for me, I just go in and remove input sources. I have accessibility in these days because we're doing a lot of accessibility work. And Jill, thank you very much for helping me. And there's another gentleman that helped me today. We went through accessibility features, so that was very helpful with our desktop Zoom features and screen reader. But that's the point. If you don't use if you don't have input sources because you're not using multiple languages, you can just remove that from the panel. If you don't use accessibility features, you can just remove it. If you don't care to have Bluetooth on the panel, you can remove it. Because I can go into settings, like maybe I don't need to add Bluetooth devices or switch to them often. So if I go and remove Bluetooth, that's okay because I still have it in settings. It doesn't need to be in my panel all the time. So I can just I can access it from the settings if that's what I need. Keep my panel a little cleaner, perhaps. You see the media control there. That's because we had a video playing, but we have the option to add media controls to the panel automatically from the volume outlet. So you can kind of start imagining just the power of a composable desktop where you can adapt its layout and where everything is. My next one, do we have any NixOS folks here? All right, how's NixCon? Fantastic? Excellent. Well, because NixCon was here, I wanted to do a Nix theme as well, or Nix branding. So I pulled these from the website. I couldn't find branding docs, so this is my best attempt, but here we go. toggle to a light mode. And you see how all the applications adapted to the new theme automatically? It's pretty stunning. And in Nix, I decided for some reason, I thought, Nix seems like maybe more square, and whereas OpenSUSE has kind of like a round, semi-round elements. So I set the theme to square. So with square, all the elements change to square instead of like round. Right now, all the text inputs, toggles, sliders, they all adapt to the different size. So you can also have more control over the radiuses throughout your desktop as well. But then this wallpaper isn't quite right for Nix. So let's switch to this one. Now we have rather beautiful Nix desktop. And this one looked really pretty to me in the logout screen. I thought it was pretty nice too. And then maybe Nix wants to do something completely different and wilder than OpenSUSE. So perhaps we want to go back to a panel on top. But maybe the panel should be floating. Maybe it should be really small. Maybe it shouldn't extend to the end. And then perhaps we should, there we go, put them back. And then enable, maybe we want the dock. But the dock should be maybe on the left. Maybe this is the kind of experience that NixOS wants to provide out of the box. No, I have no idea. But the point is, you're close to your users. You have the closest relationship with your users. You get the fastest feedback loop. It's great to be able, we want to provide a platform that enables you to respond to that feedback and adapt your user experience to the things that you're learning from your users. All right, let's look at some features. So one of the key features in Cosmic is tiling. So that's how we got started down this journey in the first place. So just with the click of a toggle, all of our windows are tiled together. As we launch more applications, like let's do the store. They'll automatically tile into place. I can use super and arrow keys. You can kind of see here. You see the highlight around the windows moves as I move focus. I can grab a window and move it with my keyboard into any other location that I want to put it. I can also swap windows. So if I want to move my files and swap it here, we've just swapped our windows. I can also stack windows. So if I want these two on the left stacked, I can grab this window and put them together. And now I have windows inside of tabs. Where am I? There we are. So, and then I can pull that window out of the tab. Everything that I could do with my keyboard shortcuts, I can also do with my mouse. I can pick up the window. I can see where it's going to land when I drop it. So there's no confusion about what position my window is going to take once I let go of the mouse button. In Cosmic, you can have a tiled workspace and a floating workspace. So I've decided to tile this workspace, but in the workspace below, maybe I want a couple of apps, and I don't want them to be tiled. So I don't have to have tiling across the entire desktop. I can mix and match workspaces depending on what I'm doing on the workspace and whether I want it tiled or not. Just by toggling a feature, we turn it on easily. And we have a choice here. We can choose to have all our new workspaces tiled or floating. That means as I start a new or go into a new workspace, the next application that I will launch will either launch floating or tiled depending on my preference. So you can have it, everything start tiled if that's just your default, or you can have it start floating and then tile as you want to. Of course, we have, I'm going to put this dock at the bottom, because I don't know if I can handle it on the left. And let's extend it. I don't know, is light mode like destroying your eyes? Let's see. Let's go back to dark mode. Ah, this is a sigh of relief. All right. I showed you a lot of the theming, and that's it's really cool to be able to take the power of the theming engine and then apply it to your distribution. But you can also do so just as a user, and it's a very simple interface to do so. So we can change our accent color. We can change the background color of our windows. We can change the roundness of our buttons. We can change to compact mode, where everything's tighter together, or super spacious. Super spacious, helps some users that just need where it's visual separation. Helps identify objects. It also can be good for touch interfaces if you have more space in between. We can adjust the window tint, or the window hint size. We can really adjust the window hint size. We're not really into restrictions. Things can get weird, and that's okay. Yeah, if this was a free text, we can make our gaps enormous. We can make them smaller too. But the point is, there's not a whole lot of reason to put severe brackets around things. Users have different preferences, and that's good. It's also pretty cool. Oh, NixOS, I also forgot about this, but their logo is in, I think it's pronounced Vigor, but we can also change to match NixOS's font. So it's really easy, even as a user, just to get really unique layouts and colors and a feel and aesthetic that you like. Some other features in Cosmic are we have scaling. So one of the nice things about Wayland is we can actually develop really nice display scaling. And with scaling, it's not visible here because the displays are mirrored, but we can scale up to 300%. We can also scale in smaller increments. So sometimes for me, at the end of the day, my eyes are getting tired and I just want a little bit bigger text. Well, instead of having separate text size, what we do is scale the interface. That way the text doesn't go outside of its container or its buttons or other things like that. But we can do it in smaller increments of like 5 pixels. So you can get just the right, you can dial it in just right for what feels comfortable for you. Besides that, everything that you can do in tiling mode, you can do in floating mode. So if we switch back to floating mode, I can use the same shortcuts to move around my windows. I can also grab a window and I can manually tile it into a corner. So if you're not into the automatic tiling, you can still use manual tiling. We call it snapping. You can snap windows to the side. Other than that, essentially all the features that you would think of in a desktop environment have been built out in Cosmic. Connecting to networks, VPNs, Bluetooth, we're working on a lot of accessibility features. That's about what we have left is color inversion, color filters, things like that for color blindness. Screen readers working well, and desktop zoom is working well. Power and battery has options for your modes and how soon your display will go to sleep, or when your system should suspend, and whether you want to disable those entirely. Input devices, we have separate settings for keyboards, mouse, and touchpad. So you can, if you want your mouse wheel to go, what is not natural? Normal scrolling, but you want your touchpad to have natural scrolling, you can set those separately. Time and date and time and region and language settings and like I said with Cosmic Text also, we have right to left rendering and right-left text working in Cosmic as well. And then we also have, besides setting up users, also default applications, so you can configure those. That's most of the features in Cosmic. For the main applications, we have a file browser, and in the file browser, it's Cosmic Files. We have previews, which is Control and space will open the preview, so you can browse through in another way. So if you're uploading a file or a picture to an issue or to another place, it's a lot easier to get a glimpse of what you're uploading. But more so than that, we also have a gallery mode. I'm sorry, all of my screenshots are Cosmic because I'm taking a screenshot and saying, hey guys, we got to fix this, we've got to fix this. So I don't have pretty pictures, but we also have a gallery mode. So if you press the space bar, it'll open up the gallery mode and we can browse through. Like you could imagine this being your pictures folder. And you can browse through your pictures in a nice gallery mode inside of Cosmic. In addition, we have a Cosmic Media Player, which if you were here earlier, we were playing a Blender movie. We have a text editor. Grabbing it. Text editor. We can open and manage projects. Let's see. This is a community contributed app that was called Observatory, and it's like a system monitor app. It's pretty awesome. We have syntax highlighting and projects, and we have Git management also built into Cosmic Text. So it's pretty awesome and Vim shortcuts as well. You can enable Vim shortcuts inside of your text files. We don't have LSP support yet, but we are considering adding it down in a future release. So it'll be a pretty nice kind of basic text editor as well. A code editor. Let's see. Of course, there's Cosmic Store, the App Store. And as you can see, the applications are all responsive, as we had talked about. So if I close this, it's going to open the navigation bar. If we add the Cosmic Terminal, you see how it responded to becoming a single column application. But if I want to get back to the navigation, I can just click the navigation bar and browse to different areas inside the application. Same is true. You'll see here, Cosmic Files will close to a smaller set of files, or is responsive to moving outside the desktop. So you can imagine Cosmic being built or being used even down into a phone device. So all the applications are responsive. If you combine the panel, and you would probably adjust what applets you have in the panel, but with that and responsive applications, you could have you very easily put together a user experience on a mobile device or on a tablet or on any other kind of device. I think that's about it. Cosmic Settings and Cosmic Media Player fill out the rest of the Cosmic Application Suite that's there so far. We do intend to write a PDF viewer in addition, but that'll probably come in a second release. A system monitor and a few other things. So ultimately, we want everyone to have a pure Cosmic experience out of the box and most of their application needs covered. All right. So as I started with, Cosmic it's going to be the flagship for Pop! OS, and it's a desktop. It's a great desktop experience, or a desktop environment experience on a computer or a desktop. But it's really built for a much bigger purpose. It's built not just licensed as a GPL project, but with the spirit of GPL, and that it's intended for people to take Cosmic, to adapt it, to change it, to brand it, to build your own experiences with it, whether that's for a distribution or for a mobile phone or a gaming console or any other device you can think of. It's intended to enable you to have all the pieces or the pieces that you can put together to create your own unique experience. If you think about the most successful projects in Linux, things like the kernel itself, Apache, quite a few Linux distributions. What they all have in common is that these things are what people use to build their things with. And that's what's different about Cosmic. Yes, it's for us to have an experience for our customers and our users with Pop! OS, but it's more so for the open source community to have a tool and a platform to build things with. So that's it. Thank you very much for coming. Be happy to answer questions.
Hi, I have a fantasy, and I'd like you to tell me how close Cosmic can come to fulfilling it.
I'm sorry?
I have a fantasy, and tell me how close Cosmic can come to fulfilling it.
I'd like to start.
I have used windowing systems since the Xerox windowing systems in the early 80s. I would like to do the following. I've seen your workspace, multiple workspaces, and I want to be able to tell it. So how do I make it such that the right mouse on a workspace can cause it to be renamed? So it would tell me, pop on the background for the workspace, then have a list of all the operations on it, click on mouse actions, select mouse action, and add rename workspace to mouse action, and then alakazam, that's the behavior. How close can you come to that?
Let me make sure that I'm understanding. Is the objective to name workspaces?
It's a stack of objectives. One of them is to rename workspaces, but the other one is that I want it to be such that I can have it from a background menu that click on a mouse. In other words, I want to change the mouse semantics. You know, that left mouse selects, double left mouse activates, right mouse gives me a background menu, and then since I don't know that because I'm a new user, I want to click on an AI that says, how do I do this? It will tell me how to do it.
I see. Well, I don't know. So workspaces is interesting. Let me show you here. So if we open up workspaces, this is a completely separate application that's not in the compositor. It is, we have wrote, honestly, I wish we did it in the compositor. It would have been so much easier, but we didn't. We wrote it as a separate application and wrote protocols between the compositor. And it's difficult because you have to have the screen copy capture for all of these windows and be able to move them around. So it's really complicated. But what that does is it means that this can be replaced entirely. So while this is the workspaces experience that we're building for our users, and for the simple example of naming the workspace, that we do intend to do that, not for the first release, but probably a second release. The idea there is you can name a workspace like development, one for communications, one for something else, and then from the launcher, you can just type the name of the workspace that you want to jump to, and it'll go to it. So that's what we intend to do there. But what I'm starting with, you can, yeah, you could change what the right mouse button does or the left mouse button does. And that's something that you could do today. It's what gets built into settings and is like what you would experience from first use is one thing, but what you can make out of it and what features you can add and change and modify are wide open. Yeah, well, I had the pleasure of going, there's a computer history lab in Boulder, at CU Boulder, and I got to go there a couple months ago, and it's not just a history museum, it's a working lab. So I had the opportunity to, like I said, on the next cube, and play with what was going on there and go through just decade after decade of desktop user experiences. And there's a lot to learn from history. I agree.
Sorry. There we go.
At the end, I heard you mention the Cosmic Desktop could be used for various experiences, including like a mobile phone. Would System 76 ever venture into the Wild West of creating a non-Android Linux phone?
You know, I don't, I,
Over there, and I'll come back. Question here. There you go.
He's going to answer the first question first.
Oh, you know, Mike? You can get up there. Yeah, okay. All right.
all right. Hello? All right, there we go. I don't know. No, long term, I would like a much more liberal landscape for hardware and software in general. It's our mission is to liberate the computer, and that doesn't stop at a laptop or a desktop. How long of a path that is? We've been at it 20 years. One thing we have is endurance. So if it takes another 20 years, that's fine. But what we've shaved off already is firmware, a lot of hardware design, electrical design. Now we're building a desktop environment. I don't know what the future's going to entail entirely, but every opportunity that we have where it's within our means, we will do more to liberate the computer.
Question there. There you go.
So you mentioned that Cosmic is built around the applets, and I was wondering how you can get third-party applets, like GNOME has the extension store and KDE has it built into the desktop. What's the vision for that on Cosmic?
Okay, so we want applets to be able to be installed from the Cosmic Store. So you'd be able to install them and then add them to your panel, or you'd probably, the UX would probably go from the store to settings where then you can add them to your panel. That's, I think what's going to happen. There are a lot of community applets already. Actually, to extend that a little bit more, our real goal is to have applets in FlatHub and be able to install them in FlatHub and then change them inside of your inside of the settings for applets. So that's how we like to. We haven't gotten packaged there yet, but so it's kind of experimental, but that's the goal. Yeah, no, I think we can do it through FlatHub.
Oh, two quick questions. One is, you mentioned that Cosmic has been tested on tablets. I'm wondering if System 76 is venturing into like making their own tablet, and what's the level of like testing and for integrating like a Cosmic environment on a tablet with a touchscreen interface, right? How that's working out, because I just see more and more people going to tablets, like from laptops to tablets. And the second question is like, you guys are very tuned into everything that's like the builder, the developer, scientist, DIY community, those now training AI. Where do you see that going into the future? Those are the two questions.
Great. For the first one, tablet is very similar to the mobile answer. I don't know. We're ambitious, and we would like to be able to have a freer, more open tablet experience, just as well as on the computer. So hopefully that's something that we can get to. With regard to AI and LLMs and how that integrates, I think there's a lot of interesting opportunities. One thing that Jill and I actually talked about is screen readers on Linux aren't great, or all right, but it's very hard to learn and hard to use. It seems like a good opportunity, perhaps, for computer vision or for MAI. That would be a kind of a dream to improve accessibility on a platform. So I hope that's something that Hope is something we have a six-person team building Cosmic, or seven-person team, and over time, as Cosmic grows, and if the hope is Cosmic becomes very popular and means that people appreciate what we're doing and buy Sim66 harder because that's what funds Cosmic, right? If that feedback loop works, then we'll be able to add more engineers and do more creative and more unique endeavors like that.
Questions here and there.
I have two questions. Number one, when will ICC support come in, the monitor calibration tools? And number two, for the power settings menu, do you ever plan on supporting third-party power management systems, i.e. TLP?
I can't really answer the second one because I forget. The first one, ICC stuff, HDR, we're going to be working on directly after the first release. So hopefully not too long after that. We did survey users and they considered it quite important, so it won't be too far behind. I've been told I can't give dates anymore. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Appreciate it. Feel free to grab me afterwards.